are listening to the Balancing Act podcast. Here's your hosts, Jamie Wonko and Joe Vitale.
We are recording. Hey, buddy, how are you? Welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. This is one of your two hosts, Joe Vitale, and I'm here with the lovely Mrs. Jamie Wonko and her plant.
And
what do we got?
I don't know opposites. That's why I can't
props. Trick. Oh, when did you get that? You said you did.
I had to go back.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're listening, right,
yes.
You're not viewing, I'm holding up a little pumpkin that says trick or treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
I had to get it at Michael's. Of course,
it's
it came out.
Best day of the year.
Yeah, it came out last May because that's when they have fall decorations in the spring. But I had to buy it. I went in. Remember, I told you I went in. I saw it, and then I didn't buy it. And I was like, darn it.
Yes.
So I went back.
Good for
and
you.
I picked it up. Yeah, I mean, I went back like 2 days later.
Fine leather goods.
Treat yourself.
So,
oh my gosh. If you've never watched Parks and Rec out there, audience, and you are looking for a good laugh and you just start Parks and Rec, the great Dr. Jamie Perry told me to watch Parks and Rec, and he told me skip season 1.
I also watched it skipping season 1, and it was excellent.
So funny.
I actually
the Penguin Wedding is like the first episode.
Yeah.
Yes, because I have rewatched the series several times, and it just gets better every time. But
I actually remember because I think that show came on just after The Office had ended, so I was like looking for something to replace The Office. So it was like, okay, let me try out this show.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it, but not really liking it that much. So I bailed on season 1, but season 2 is decidedly better.
Season 2, it's so good. Yeah. So if you haven't watched Parks and Rec, highly recommend. And Treat Yourself is, the best day of the year. So welcome to the best show of the year.
Yes. So yeah, it has been a busy couple of weeks. We are in the throes of the beginning of the first marking period here in New Jersey. So when this episode airs, we're going to be close to, getting to a fall break and also dealing with, exams and stuff like that coming up. But I think
exams?
Tests and things like that.
Tests?
Because they're finishing things up for the end of the marking period. It's that race to be like, oh, I didn't get all the majors in, so now we got to have the project.
Oh,
yeah,
see,
that's what I meant.
Now, when I told my students the other day, I said, a little Google Classroom set up by week shows you that there are 10 weeks in a marking period.
Yes.
And week 5 would be the halfway point. So
yes, it would
can't be surprised. So if it's week 5, a teacher that needs 25 grades should have 12 grades at least.
That is correct.
10, 12, right? I mean,
yeah.
So it gives you a little...
you are not wrong.
First marking period is very difficult to get grades off the bat because you're, there's a lot of getting to know you and review and all of that kind of stuff. But so, Mr. Vitale, let's do a little check-in, a little check-up with you, and what up with that? What's going on there in your life? Any new news or anything that you're?
No.
We both had our first official not feeling so good sickness of the year. That's right on schedule.
Unfortunately, I don't like to be out early in the year. I mean, I don't think any teacher does, honestly. I had a doctor's appointment the end of September.
Well, you made it 4 weeks without a day off. That's a lot of weeks. That's
I did.
Great.
So I had a doctor's appointment that I needed to attend because I called for it in like the end of July, and they were like, we have September. So we all know how that goes. That's a life thing. And then, I think the pace of things kind of finally got to me. Between every day after school, it's there's obligations that you have, and my daughter's sports schedule, my kids have part-time jobs. And even before we started this episode, you were talking about your husband had popped in. It was like, hey, what time is he getting picked up? Where's this one? Where's that? It's every night. It's the same thing every night.
Every damn night on the telephone.
On the telephone? What are you boy talking about on the telephone, man?
What movie? What movie?
What movie, people? That would be Weird Science. Anthony Michael Hall, underrated. Anthony Michael. I watched that movie when I was a child so many times.
So many times.
So many times.
Every damn night.
And it really wasn't about Kelly LeBrock being in a shower. It was more about there being a computer that could do those things because, you know, we didn't have that stuff back in my day.
Get your cane out, start shaking it.
Old man yells at sky, film at 11. So yeah, it's just been the pace of things. And I think it just all kind of hit me at once. And honestly, there must be something going around school because my kids were sick last week. We all know how it goes. They get sick, they come home, and everybody else gets sick. And, you know, my wife and I are passing it back and forth. And it's just one of those things.
I know, it's terrible.
Yeah. So no, honestly, nothing really new. It's just the getting used to the rat race of things has been a little bit more difficult this year. And I think it's attributed to like, we really kind of shut it down at the end of the summer. Like we really were like not really doing much of anything, which I think was good. And I think to just like restarting, like as soon as you start, it's like it's a mad dash sprint.
Yeah.
And it's and go.
So is there anything that has been bringing you joy?
Yeah.
Anything fun? What are you doing? What's bringing you joy?
I have enjoyed actually just on Sundays. We've been doing the old Taking Back Sunday. But it's been fun to like
cutlets.
Yeah, my wife has been rocking the chicken cutlets lately. Underrated Italian dish, chicken cutlets. But no, it's been fun to sit with my son and watch football. He's in a fantasy league with your son and some of their friends, and they play for no money, but he takes it very seriously.
So seriously. I love that.
While we were recording an episode, I was getting text messages about who should I pick up on the waiver wire? Should I get this person? Should I get that person? And like, I will give him advice, although I don't know why he's taking it from me because I am 1-3 in my league. So I would not be taking it, but no, it's been fun to sit and watch games.
What's the waiver wire? I want one.
The waiver wire is like, players that are not on your team. Like, let's say that, that a running back gets injured and their backup is now going to be the starting running back. You can pick that guy up on the waiver wire. You know, there's like a priority order that you get and you decide like, oh, do I want this person a lot? And then there it is. I was waiting for it. I
don't want
my wife, you know what she does when I talk too long? Do you know what she does when I talk too long? You know what she does. And she's laughing. She's seen her do it. She plays Oscar instrumental music like I'm giving a speech for too long to play me off stage. It might be Jamie's favorite thing that my wife does.
Oh,
it might be her favorite thing.
Hysterical.
Yeah, it is hysterical.
So funny.
Yeah. So no, that's been good. What about you, friend? Have you been anything bringing you joy these days?
I am only in love with one thing, my new kitchen.
Yes, it's been a lot.
I
like it.
only have eyes. Let me just say, okay, huge shout out to my next door neighbor and friend and contractor and craftsman and everything, Marco Espen of eWorks. And I recommend. He is just absolutely the best. And I'm just obsessed. I may, put the blowout mattress in the kitchen and sleep in there because I just can't stop looking at it.
Nice.
And I what is the great Matthew McConaughey? Like you always need someone to look up to, something to look forward to.
I think I don't remember.
He has one more.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like this idea. So it's like that. What do you have to look forward to? And we've lived in our house for 16 years. And when we moved in, everything was brand new. And it was, tip top, nothing needed to be done, which is good because we're, we're not capable, knowledgeable, or willing, haha, of learning and doing those things. So, but 16 years went by and all of a sudden it was like, everything is horrible here. And so it's just bringing me so much joy. And the cabinets are in, the appliances are back in, the cabinets are today all the knobs were put in and the handles were put in place, and next up countertop.
That's
Next
awesome.
up countertop. Yeah.
The quote apparently is from a speech that McConaughey gave in his Oscar speech in 2014. There are 3 things to my account that I need each day. One of them is something to look up to, another is something to look forward to, and another is something to chase. And I actually like that. He also said famously that the man who invented the hamburger was a genius. But the man who invented what was it? Cheeseburger, hamburger, something or other. I have it wrong.
I don't know that.
The man who invented the hamburger was smart. The man who invented the cheeseburger was a genius. Apparently that quote is attributed to Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey. Yeah. So I love that. I do think it's so important for just like to be in a good space to have something to look forward to, whether it's, not cooking on a Friday night or,
Yes.
having your, new kitchen cabinets put in. That's a big one. It doesn't come along too often, but I am psyched.
It's funny because I don't have anything that I'm chasing right now. But I think about like what
How
I
about
want.
the podcast?
Say again?
How about the podcast?
No, of course. Yeah. I mean, yes, that's definitely something that we are
We're chasing
promoting and doing. It's become part of everyday life, which I like because it's like kind of like part of like the minutia of every day.
Yes.
I think part of me from being, a person who's done marathons and half marathons, I like having a challenge in front of me, and I think in the new year I want to find. There haven't been a lot of races in New Jersey recently. Shout out, poor job, New Jersey, because most of them get canceled for some reason. No, there used to be a whole bunch. There was one at Rutgers University I used to go out to Bethlehem when I lived out there. And then when I moved back to New Jersey, I used to go out to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania for a race that was out there. That one's no longer exists. There was one in Atlantic City I did once. And then I like signed up for it again for the next year. And then a month later, they're like, we're canceling. So I just haven't been able to find anything. But I think I want to get back to that. That's something I'd want to do.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to start weightlifting again.
You should. I have a perfect gym for you to join.
Orange Julius.
Orange Julius.
During COVID, we bought, and by we, I mean my husband, bought so much equipment, and we have a weight table, or what's it called? A bench.
Bench, yes.
And we have free weights, and we have dumbbells and barbells and boobells and strappy, what are those, like resistance bands?
Yes.
And a weighted ball. I mean, we have everything here.
And true story, Jason lifts all of those at once. That's how he works out. He takes all of those things in his arms,
them around,
and he just carries them around.
He just carries them around.
Allegedly.
Yeah, he likes to go. So as soon as the gyms were back open, he likes to go out. That's his very therapeutic thing that he looks forward to, and that he enjoys. That's his big stress relief. And so, but yeah, so I think I'd like to do that. And also, I've decided I'd like to go see a couple more musicals, and get to like more live theater experiences, because that's something that I always did and something that I really enjoy. Yeah. So, so something to chase. I just, I think the idea of the whole thing is so great. Even if it's, like you're saving or planning for a family vacation, or, like you said, a race, or just something you want to maybe find more information about. I'm just really excited to cook in my kitchen. Shout out Tony E, one of our listeners. I said to her, like, I miss cooking. I love to cook. And she was like, she basically vomited on me. Like, she thought it was like the most, like she thought it was the worst, but she's like, I can't, like, what are the words that just came out of your head? Like, what are you saying? But we all sort of have a thing that we enjoy doing. I don't enjoy my family asking me what we're eating. But I absolutely love like feeding my family. So having this little somebody just said to me, like, nothing is going to taste as good as like those first couple of meals from the new kitchen.
Nice.
And you can only eat microwavable stuff for so long.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, and I'd be like, have you tried many things? There are many things that one could eat,
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
not skinny person.
That's funny. No,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I didn't say that. But yeah, so, so we're chugging along here with our with our project. And so I'm in this little corner here and really just looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, like 9 big boxes of all
Got it.
this stuff. So it'll be nice to have that project be behind us. But
And I know that your family is very excited to they saw you open and closing all the cabinets. That was a big deal. They were very excited about that.
I called each one of them individually. Privately so that the others wouldn't know. And I said, "Oh, could you come here for a second?" And, "Oh, yeah, sure, mom, what?" "Oh, watch this." And I opened, and I was like, "Look at this one. Wait, watch the slow close. Oh, come over here. Look at this one." And I love, like, my
I don't
kids
know
are
why I'm
so
picturing it. I'm picturing there's a skit from Saturday Night Live with Scarlett Johansson where she's
she's
like,
like,
"Look at this one. Look at this one. Look at
No.
this one."
I will
It's
say it was
not
real quiet. It was
Yeah.
very quiet, and I didn't wanna draw attention to the others. I wanted everyone to have their own exclusive experience, and then I was like, "And look at this one." And then over here, there's a Lazy Susan, which was really funny because they didn't know what that like, they'd never heard that name before. I don't understand.
Yeah.
My parents have one, but I guess maybe it was just like I don't know. It's like, how can you be 12 and you've never heard me say
I
Lazy
kinda
Susan?
wanna
Which
know
also,
why a
like,
lazy
who's
I kinda wanna
Susan?
know why a lazy Susan is called a lazy Susan.
Right?
I kinda
Like,
wanna know.
me too.
Yeah.
Like, "Hey, Susan." I'm like, "Who are you?" And like, were people making fun of you? Is that relational aggression? Susan.
That's
All
coming
right, let's
along.
see. Why do we say Lazy Susan? Oh, AI, I love you. The origin of the term Lazy Susan is unclear. It may have been servants named Susan. Oh, and Susan was just a generic term for servants. Oh, Thomas
Hmm.
Jefferson invented it for his daughter Susan.
Really?
Another popular theory is that Thomas Jefferson invented the Lazy Susan for his daughter, who often complained about being served last at the dinner table. That's interesting, right? Because when I think of a Lazy Susan, it's in the cabinet, but I do also have one that I
On
have
the
in the
table.
middle of my dining room table that spins around, which is great for condiments and other things like for when you're sharing food. Hmm.
We just learned something new. Thank you, Thomas Jefferson. So we are talking about a very
Lazy Susan.
lazy Susans. We are talking about a very a hot button issue. And we were kind of between some different topics of what we were going to talk about today, but we are going to talk about homework. And Jamie has a very very definitive and strong opinion on homework. And I'd love for you to start us off on your thoughts.
All right. So my view of homework has changed. And I just like so many other things. As a female, I reserve the right to change my opinion back and forth and back and up and down. However, the start of homework in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, I don't mind it entirely. I do mind when it starts to seem to take over and it seems to just suck up so many hours after school. If the homework is meaningful, if the homework is going to like genuinely broaden the student's knowledge or interest in some way, fine. I love project based learning. I don't mind a project now and again, but there is still, how many hours is too many hours?
Yeah.
How much is too much? And I don't know if there's an answer, for that, but it certainly, and it comes in waves, and I think it's what you've said before too. I do have, I have the type of kids, if you tell them on Monday that something is due on Thursday, like they're doing it on Monday.
Yeah.
So that's on them, for it to take that long, budgeting time, is a good skill. It's just not necessarily it doesn't work for everybody because, sometimes you can't not think about it. Right,
Yeah,
or put it
and
off easily.
that's a personality and a work ethic thing, absolutely.
Definitely.
And
Um,
there's nothing
mm,
wrong with it.
no, but
Um,
homework, I don't know. I mean, you know, isn't there enough hours of the day that we're learning and doing and practicing that we need to have that much practice? Like if it's math, do you need 25 problems? Like can't you prove if you know it or not in 5?
correct.
And if you're reading or writing, which I just think I think we've really, really screwed up uh, learning the beauty of reading and how
Mhm.
much you can get out of it. And so reading for enjoyment, there just isn't any. I do hear my girls especially say, I didn't have anything to do today. I didn't have any time today to do anything that I like. And that
Hmm.
just really bothers me
Yeah.
because, then that means, you didn't have any time to bake. You didn't have any time to read a book. You didn't have any time to paint something. You didn't have any time to, I don't, and so mine can't be the only kids that are feeling that way or having that, approach. I don't hear it that much. It's funny. I don't know. My son doesn't get that much homework. So I don't really
No,
hear,
I was just gonna
yeah,
mention that it seems like
block
they get away
scheduling.
from they get away f
Block
well, yes.
scheduling, block scheduling. So if we want to talk about the homework differences between 6, 7, 8, 9 periods a day versus 3, right? There definitely that would be a pro con list, in favor of block scheduling because
Yeah,
you
provided
just don't
those
have that many classes.
and again, this is not I don't know what the teachers do at the in regards to block scheduling, but it has to be done correctly. It can't be like an hour of instruction and then a half an hour, okay, work on your homework. And then if you finish it, you can play on your Chromebook and go on
Well, no,
YouTube.
I don't
Like,
mean doing the homework in the classroom. I mean just the volume of like
mhm,
if you have if you have 5 classes a day every single day, you're gonna get more homework than if you have 2 classes. You know what I mean? Like if you have your elective and then you have a math class and a science class, like you're still only having homework from 2 classes, not
yeah.
5.
I try to have, I've talked about having students track their work using a planner, write things down that they have to accomplish. So many of them, it's like, oh, you have to study for a test, and they write no homework because they don't have the study skills to be able to prepare for a test or exam.
Right.
Um, it's a big challenge because I don't think anybody, and again, I know I'm making a particular comment about the environment that I work in, but I don't think anybody's really analyzing the new schedule because we went from a block schedule to 6 periods, and the fact that the electives that we added are all essentially academic heavy.
Yeah.
It's journalism, it's creative writing, it's things that are academically heavy, and there's work that's associated with them, and also the pressure that certain teachers face to cover curriculum and teach to the proper standards, and the standard exams that they're going to give at the end of each quarter that are now being implemented. Like nobody's really understanding what effect that's having on the child.
Right.
That's the most difficult part. Like no one's looking at that. um
I am.
oh yeah, I mean
But
you
I'm
are.
living through it as a parent. So
Yeah.
I have to say like a lot of the things that I just pretty much everything I just said is leaning in more towards my view as a parent
Yeah.
than it is as a teacher.
Mhm.
But I will say I've done this quite a few times as a teacher, and I still do it. One thing I never ever ever do is have something due on a Monday. ever,
Same.
because it just is, it's too upsetting when half the kids are like, what? So, I will never have something due on a Monday. Also, I have been known to make up a due date, and then say like, psych, it's really tomorrow, because I know that the kids who have done it are happy and it's finished, and the ones who forgot or then like have that extra day,
Hmm.
rather than, okay, we're all going to peer revise and edit an essay, and the essay was due today and only 5 of you have it, and now we can't do the lesson that I wanted to do, so it's really due tomorrow, that kind of thing. I've done that also, because it's gotten exponentially better, in my new school, but it wasn't really worth assigning homework at all, because like overwhelming majority wasn't doing it.
Yeah,
They
that
just
was
weren't doing it.
yeah, that was part of it. I'm planning on doing a couple things as we move, towards the end of the second half of the marking period. Like I
Mhm.
want to do an assessment with them, but I'm going to have them do like that's going to be done at home. It's going to be like some online stuff that I'm going to have them do and have them budget time to be able to complete it short. But it's up to them if they want to do it all in one shot or if they want to wait. So the challenge again is going to be like, what am I going to do for those kids that just aren't going to do it? And we're going to have a missing major assessment. Um, and unfortunately, I try to draw a very hard line from looking at the research and looking at, um, you know, brain development. Like students want very specific guidelines as to when their work is due. They don't
Yeah.
want to have a laissez-faire handed in whenever you want. That
No.
just doesn't work. And I know
No.
that there are people out on social media that make, they make comments like, "Oh, it's the doesn't matter when they hand it in. The thing is that they're doing the work. That as long as they're doing I'm like, but like we can't do like life.
Yeah.
You
What do
can't.
you do when they don't have it?
Um, for example, like the major assessment or something like that.
Yeah.
I email if it's a major assessment. I email home and say this was
But
not handed in.
what does the interaction in the classroom look like?
There normally isn't one. I don't make a big deal out of it
Right.
because
They just don't have it.
I don't feel that I should. It's like, oh, I don't.
Right.
I was like, okay, you can hand it in tomorrow for a late grade.
Right.
10 points off, and
Yeah.
I move on to the next person. And then if somebody else says, "Oh, I didn't," I said, "Okay, you can hand it in tomorrow, late grade, 10 points off. Don't forget. Write it down in your planner." Like I have the same conversation each and every
Response.
time and the
Yeah.
same response each and every time.
Which is
Uh,
so healthy, because they're not, that's not always the response.
what
Like, "Oh, where is it? Why not? Are you so busy? How come you couldn't finish it?"
no,
Like,
God, no.
but that's happening. That's happening. So to me, like, don't give
Where is that
homework.
happening? I want to know where that's happening. I don't no, let me
Ask your kids. Ask your kids.
that sounded very rude. I don't mean that it's not happening.
Yeah.
I mean like come on. Why is that
Ask
happening?
ask
Is
you're
what I mean.
saying, "Why is it happening?" And I'm
Yeah.
saying, ask your children.
Okay.
Ask them like, "Hey, can you think of, like, tell me what happens in different classes, like, over the years when kids don't have the work." Would it be different? Would their responses be different from middle school to now, when like both of them are in like higher level classes?
I think so.
Like I'm curious to see. And I don't know, maybe my kids just tell more detail or go into it more, or they're more like sensitive to like people's reactions to
Yeah.
others. I don't know. I do think like my girls are extremely like things that people, the way that people say, the way that teachers speak, what they're saying, how they're saying it. They're very much affected by it and repeat it. And a lot of times I have just come to the point, even like with my own kids, where I'm like, that didn't happen. Even though I like a lot of times it did,
Yeah.
but I just say like, oh, that didn't. Oh, come on, you must have that. You blew that up. Oh, that you blew that out of proportion. Not to them, because like God forbid, like they always want to have their work, and they would, it's like a big deal to them.
Yeah.
But they're observing like the responses to the other kids, and does that make anybody like? Does being like shamed into it ever work?
No,
It doesn't.
that's why I'm like that's
It doesn't work.
completely ineffective.
Right.
Pulling a kid aside or being like, "Hey, you realize this is a major, right? Like, and you're not
Right.
handing it in. That's really going to affect your grade." That's
Right.
different than saying like, "Oh, well, you too," but like that's
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. That
Right.
doesn't meet that does not meet a student where they are, and you don't know what that kid is dealing with back at home. Like and I'm not trying to be melodramatic, but like every child comes
So why can't they do this major assessment in your class? Why do they have to do it at home?
because I and that's the thing. Like we have to have a certain amount. Okay. I have one that was just finished. We have another one that's coming up, and then I need to get two more or three more in. And yes, I can make anything a major, right? But I
Mhm.
thought, okay, let me do this outside of class because it's content that they have studied before. Like in civics, we are reviewing like American democracy and the Revolutionary War. Like not a lot, but like what are the foundations for like, okay, we've done that already. They had that in fifth grade, they had that in fourth grade, they had it in third grade. So I want to give them like some review of material that they've had already. I'm going to use like Ed Puzzles assessment to do that. Um, and then move on to the next chapter because or the next group of topics because I want to get to the presidential election.
And how many days will they have to do it?
I will probably give them I'll assign it on a Monday and I'll probably give them till Friday.
That's way fair. I think
I
that's
I
I
think
think
so.
it's completely fair.
And then it's also like, "Oh, we're done a little bit early? Okay, you can work on
You can
your
start,
you
right.
can
And
start."
there's no bias in that. You have 5 days that,
Yeah,
whether you're a dancer or, you play an instrument or, you have religious studies or whatever it might be, you can finish that,
yeah, and it's not
I
gonna be
think.
excessively long.
No.
It's gonna be maybe be 3 videos, and they're gonna be anywhere from 7 to 9 minutes each, and less than that, 5 to 7 minutes each.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm
yeah,
not opposed to all homework. I'm really not. I just, I think that it's sometimes a bit over
yeah, no,
overboard, you know.
absolutely, and I think, I used to watch my daughter, I think might have talked about this story already, doing IXL, a
No.
diagnostic program, which is a diagnostic that should not be graded. Um, there's a hill I will die on. There are many hills that I will die on. I've
So
realized
many, so
there are so
many.
many.
We
So
should make a top 10 hill list.
small preview is that
Chips Ahoy is number 1, we
chips. It's
know.
a garbage cookie. Okay, let's not get into this again. And when I order like shrimp scampi or shrimp fra
Oh,
diavolo at an
right,
Italian
take the
restaurant,
tail
take the
off.
tails off the shrimp. I don't want to be. No, but you can use a knife and fork and blah blah blah. No, I don't want to be shooting tails across the restaurant.
Did you know what did I just watch? Oh, ooh, the Menendez brothers. I don't recommend, okay?
Oh, I started
Haunts your
what we watched
nightmares.
the first we watched the first few episodes. We haven't finished it, but we have been
Yeah,
watching it.
but I swear, like, in one of the episodes, I'm pretty sure it was that show, the dad, I had to cut it with How I Met Your Mother just for, like, some levity, it was either How I Met Your Mother or the Menendez brothers, so, one and the same, where they go to a restaurant and they order that dish, like a shrimp dish with no tails.
Yeah, there you go.
And that was like and I thought of you, like, that was a very specific request of, like, "This is what I'll have, but no tails." So,
I just don't want to get my
you
fingers
can
on the
you
thing.
can ask them to take the tails off.
I should do that. But
Yeah.
no. Anyway, so IXL is a diagnostic, and the kids would be doing it, and they have to get 100, and then they would get 100 on it. Okay, great. But the way it works is, it's of course it's an algorithm, and they're doing a number of problems, and then they get to 90, and once they get to 90, they got to get 10 in a row correct to show that they are that to get to 100. So it's they get 91, 92, 93, 94, then they get one wrong, and it goes all the way back down to 83. Then you get back up to 90, and then so I'd watch my daughter like trying to get 100, like, and then she's in tears, and she obviously knows the material because she keeps getting a bunch of problems correct, but then makes a small mistake or gets emotional or starts to go too fast. And I was like, I would close the laptop and be like, okay, walk away, we're done. Well, I didn't get it. Okay, we're done.
I
It's
can't tell
not.
you how many times I've said, like, "It's over.
Yeah.
It's over. I'm calling it. It's over."
Yeah, throw in the towel.
You're not allowed.
Throw in the towel.
And it really, I know. I'm covering this I'm covering this class for at work. So I'm dipping my toe back into language arts teaching, and I really love it. I really do. It's just like riding a bike. I haven't done it in 10 years, but the stories and the questions and so many of the things, it's great. And the kids are really very sweet, and we're, starting to get to know each other a little bit. It's been a few weeks, and I decided, what am I going to do for my do now? I'm going to do like 10 minutes at the beginning of class of different skills, and then, kind of like interweave them, and then do that sort of, what do they call that? Like funneling, right? So we're going to, hit it and then come back again and then do it
Yep.
and whatever. So IXL I do love Group Jam on IXL, and it's pretty much the only way that I use it in my history classroom.
Uh-huh.
And the kids really do like to do that. But the IXL in my language arts class it's really not so bad if it's with a time limit.
Okay.
We're going to see what you can get and how far you can get in this 10 minutes. And then we're all done. And I can see them, like, their reaction to it is much different, the way that they're reading, learning, picking up on it. And so I think that if you are a teacher, I've said this before, let me get on my hill. If you are a teacher and you have never sat down and done the child's version of what you're assigning, shame, 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 shame.
Mhm.
Don't assign it if you haven't done it yourself.
Oh,
You
you were
don't know
talking
how.
about an essay that our students have to write for
Yes.
a particular thing that we do, and like you were like, oh, and they were writing one, so I was writing one while they were doing it, and I was like, oh, that's like, it's not that I don't do that. Like, I do like the prep work with them. I don't
Mhm.
actually write the essay,
Mhm.
but I could also see how that could be beneficial.
It's fantastic because I'm not going to ask them to do something that I'm not going to try to do myself.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, remember we used to do the rap battles, and we used to shout out Flocab. We love you, Flocabulary.
Yes.
We used to have rap battles, and you and I would write them and do them ourselves.
Yes.
It was awesome. The kids loved it. And it was, corny and silly and ridiculous, but also, I'm not asking you to do anything I'm not doing myself.
Yeah.
And, I'm not a writer, I'm not an author, right? But I am, because I write and I create and I try. And so I think that them seeing you, me, whomever doing something like that, I think it's so beneficial. And I was typing while they were typing, and they were watching me. I had it up on the screen and they were working, and I, had to sing my favorite song. Because I creep on their pages, and I always say, like, I'm a creeper. And then I have to sing, like, I always feel like Miss Wonko's watching me.
Yes.
Which I will never tire of. But and so I think that the practice of that is great. Now, did I send them out of the room at the end of the period today saying, like, this is due on Friday? We're going to have a little bit of time tomorrow. We're going to have a little bit of time the next day. And I'm going to check in on you. We're going to talk about your progress. But is it on my homework list? It is, because some kids today wrote, I think it has to be between 300 and 400 words. So some children, in the 20 minutes after we went through the directions and the setup and the examples, wrote 3 paragraphs, and they're almost done. Like, they're on their way to 300 words.
Yeah.
And some kids wrote 4 sentences.
Uh-huh.
And so that can be very tricky. Is everyone going to be, at the same level? Absolutely not. We had to have the whole full conversation about AI as well, and how, I can't track you. I can't say you didn't write this using software, but I can, because I know you and I've
Yeah.
seen what you've done and I've spoken to you. So I'm going to use my spidey sense. Like, I'm going to use my teacher knowledge to know if you copied, right?
Yeah,
So,
and again, shout out to Dr. Tarver, because I stole
yes,
his his AI policy, which was, when we do this assignment, because we'll have to do the same thing, they have to know, like, okay, I have to be able to defend everything I've written verbally, not reading
Yes,
it out loud to me.
that's
You have
right.
to be able to talk to me about what your reasons were.
That's right. And Jonathan Mast said also, which I did say to the kids today, I spoke to someone recently about AI, and even there is no way for us to know. There's no software that's going to magically tell me that you copied. But I am smart enough and I know you enough that I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk through it with you. Same thing. And I think that they responded genuinely to the honesty in that.
Yeah.
Because it is very easy to say, like, I'm going to feed this into the computer and I know it. And it's like, I'm so sorry to burst your big bubble, but like you can't.
Yeah, those AI. So I was actually watching something earlier today with my wife, and it was the president of Rutgers with the CEO of Turnitin. And Turnitin, as we know, is a software that can, check the assignment against the breadth of the internet. But apparently, their proprietary software, whatever they have within Turnitin, which is a paid service,
Mm.
can check whether or not something was AI generated based on like the words and how it's put on the page. I can't remember exactly what he said,
Oh,
but
so
he's
you
like,
can. Oh, so you can,
through
but you have
turn
to
it through
pay for that.
turn it in, yes. And many major
Interesting.
college institutions use it, and about half of United States high schools are using Turnitin. We do not.
Wow.
We do not.
You don't.
However,
Got it.
he also said that like that's not going to last forever, and the AI is going to outpace people's ability to be able to find those things. So we have to teach people how to better use, like this conversation was very interesting because it was also about like they were talking about how the CEO of Google, whose name escapes me right now, said that like this could be a bigger human revolutionary moment than like fire. And I was like, that's a bold statement.
Wow.
They also talked about how 90% of this will be used for good, but it's the 10% of it that we have to worry about. A lot of the content that we're like reading on sports pages on ESPN, it's all AI generated already. It's just,
Right.
it's here's the results of the game, here's what happened, here's the stats. It analyzes the stats and gives you a report, put some quotes in there, and it's done. Not in all cases, but
Now,
in many cases.
let me ask you this. The college, let's say Rutgers, for example, does each professor have to pay for Turnitin, or does
No, it's paid for by the like organization. It's attached to the, I guess it's attached to the domain. So
huh,
like anything that gets turned in gets
got it.
analyzed through that.
That's amazing.
Like
Do
Google
you think that
has,
if it filtered down to us, we'd end up getting it as a service?
I don't know. I
I mean,
doubt it.
remember how long we waited for something like Go Guardian?
Yeah, we waited way too long.
Way too long.
Yeah, we should have had that, but before we had
Yeah.
the devices, that should have been in place.
Yeah.
But again, not our
Yeah.
circus,
No, no,
not our monkeys.
I'll be interested to see which high schools and how. I'll have to see with Jason, but
It doesn't
um
matter. It doesn't matter what you tell them. Well, you can't use it because they can go on their personal devices and they can use it. They can go on their phone and they can use it. They can make their own.
oh, right. No, I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't say to them, I mean, in the rules for this contest, it specifically states like,
Yes.
about AI. So I went over that with them, but I did say to them, like, yes, it is very hard for me to track, but I know you and I speak with you. So it's not that hard. Like, I
Yeah.
just wanted to give them like that idea. But in the end, whether you assign a lot of homework, a little homework, no homework, I don't know if it is, I'm not against it completely. I don't know. I don't know if we're moving forward in the right direction,
I also think it sets a bad. I don't want to say it sets a bad precedent because yeah, there are things that students have to do to practice and
Mhm.
know material, but it does, in a way, set a bad precedent for like working past contract hours, if you will. Like, it's not the same thing, but in a way, it like sets that mode up, or like, oh, they know they have to get this done. There's a deadline. There's this thing, and we're all guilty of that. Um, I have papers sitting on my desk that need to be graded, but I also know that if they come home, they're just going to be carried back in the same condition because
Oh yeah.
I know how I am. I know how busy I am. I know the things that I'm doing in the afternoon, and I know when it comes time to sit down and like, oh, I'm going to grade those papers. I don't have the mental capacity to do it.
Yeah.
I am fried. So that's why and a lot of the students are asked, like, I get this question all the time, and I know you do too. Like, is this graded? Is this great? Like, I tell them, like, please stop asking me that question. Like, if I'm
Yeah.
asking you to do something at home, ad
It's graded.
infinitum for the remainder of time,
Yeah.
it's graded. If I'm
Yeah.
asking you to do something at home, it's graded.
Yeah.
I'm grading everything. There are
Yeah.
times when you are in class, they're taking notes. You're not grading those notes, right? You're
Right.
doing a notebook check later in the marking period, whatever it is.
Yep.
Um,
You're using it for another purpose, but
but they're immediately hearing if you said, no, this is just practice, they're going to, yep, not doing that.
do you know what I like to say when they ask that?
What?
You know, when they say, is this graded? I always say, oh, come on. You know, the teachers are the most judgmental of all people. We're grading everything you do every minute. And then they just like, and then I laugh and they look at me and they're not like, what? Huh? But I do have a running list with my homework. On my homework, I have like a homework doc, and I have a graded marking period assignment doc, and I have a running list of all of the things that I've graded in Genesis and the dates that they were that I took them. So that way,
Got it.
they can see the list and they can see what it is, and and I think at the beginning of the year there was a statement made like, don't give anything that's not graded, right? Or
Yeah.
like that. I was like,
Yeah.
we'll have 1,000 grades, but
It's not possible.
I knew it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I guess that question must come up more than, I don't know. I guess that comes up quite. It's sort of, well, my least favorite question is, how long does it have to be?
Yeah.
That's always that's a kicker. But as far as homework goes, I guess we'll continue this great debate and keep going with it. Mr. Vitale, I hope that I'm going to give you a homework assignment.
What is it?
Your homework assignment is.
I'm not doing it. Go ahead. What's my homework assignment?
The dog ate the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dog ate my Wi-Fi. Your homework assignment is to come up with what you're going to be chasing.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. I want you
I'm
to
in.
do a little research, a little, let's see. I mean, I'll make up a fake race for you. I'll get you a bib. I'll throw water at you.
I appreciate it. But no, you're right. I should. It's something that I like to challenge myself with. So
Yeah.
absolutely. And I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate your position on homework. I think that we are cut from the same cloth in that regard for sure. So
Joseph, I appreciate you, and I appreciate our lunch. I hope it's returning tomorrow because it was lonely. I was like, hey, hi, lonely guy. I was lonely today.
Yeah, I was absent because of a little under the weather. So
yeah. Well, as long as you're feeling
tomorrow.
better. If not, stay away.
I'll cough all over you. Okay. All right. I will see you. We'll see you next time, guys.
See you next time.
Balancing Act Podcast will now be available weekly. Check out Apple Podcasts or Spotify and give us a follow. We appreciate you.